Just because the woman refused to wait in line when buying tofu, the tofu vendor refused to sell to her. Even when she pulled out a wad of cash, the vendor still wouldn't sell to her. In a fit of anger, the woman overturned the tofu stall. She even beat up the vendor. At that moment, the vendor's daughter-in-law rushed back. She took out her phone to call the police. To everyone's surprise, the woman had her bodyguards cripple the daughter-in-law's hand. This foolish act would be one the woman would bitterly regret, because the vendor's daughter-in-law was a nationally renowned pediatrician. The day before, the woman's husband knelt in the pouring rain for 3 days and 3 nights holding their child, all to beg Dr. Su to perform surgery on his daughter. Only Dr. Su could treat this illness. The woman criticized her husband, who was a CEO worth billions. Kneeling publicly to plead with the doctor was too humiliating. She boasted that as long as they had enough money, they could bribe Dr. Su to perform surgery on their daughter. The man knew very well that Dr. Su was not only highly skilled, and, most importantly, she treated every patient fairly. They had to show genuine sincerity. When Dr. Su heard from her assistant that someone was kneeling at the hospital entrance, with a child begging her to provide treatment, she hurried from the award stage to the scene. Seeing the father humble himself for his daughter, Dr. Su agreed to perform the surgery for his daughter 3 days later. The CEO worried that Dr. Su might go back on her promise. He took out his daughter's bracelet as a token of their agreement. On the morning 3 days later, Dr. Su arrived in Shanghai with her surgical team. Before the operation, she planned to first visit her father-in-law. A month earlier, her husband had just died in a car accident. Only her father-in-law remained at home. Meanwhile, the woman heard her daughter say she wanted to eat tofu. She went to the market with her bodyguards to buy the tastiest local tofu. Little did she know that the vendor was Dr. Su's father-in-law. The tofu stall had a long line every day. The woman put on an air of wealth and refused to wait in line. She boasted that she had never queued in her life, and that people always handed her whatever she wanted. The vendor insisted, for the sake of fairness, that the woman join the line. Otherwise, he would refuse to sell to her. The woman pulled out a wad of cash and threw it at the vendor. She said she wouldn't wait in line today and would still take the tofu. The vendor picked up the money from the ground and handed it back to the woman. He said he couldn't violate the principle of fairness. In a fit of anger, the woman smashed the tofu stall. At that moment, Dr. Su was rushing to her father-in-law's tofu stall. She made several calls, but no one answered. Little did she know that her father-in-law was being harassed by the woman. Onlookers criticized the woman's behavior as excessive. They said her swaggering and bullying would bring retribution. The woman not only refused to restrain herself but also attacked the stall. Her bodyguard smashed the vendor's tofu all over the ground. Photos of the vendor's son and daughter-in-law were also knocked to the ground. After a bodyguard picked up the photos and wiped them clean, he discovered that the vendor's daughter-in-law was actually a doctor. The woman mocked that his daughter-in-law must be a country doctor. When she read the name on the badge, she realized that the vendor's daughter-in-law had the same name as her daughter's attending physician. By then, Dr. Su had already arrived at the market entrance. She phoned her assistant to prepare for the surgery. She would return to the hospital in half an hour to perform the operation. Just as the woman was wondering whether the doctor in the photo was Dr. Su, the vendor demanded that the woman return the photo to him. He also said it was a photo of his daughter. The woman couldn't believe that a nationally famous pediatrician would be the daughter of a tofu vendor. When the vendor said he would go to court to sue her, she said her husband was a billionaire CEO. No one would dare cross her. Only then did everyone realize the woman was the CEO's wife. It was well known that the CEO had knelt at the hospital gate begging Dr. Su to treat his daughter. But now that the woman has offended Dr. Su's family, if the CEO finds out, he will certainly divorce her. The woman stated that Dr. Su had already agreed to perform surgery on her daughter, so she didn't believe the vendor's daughter-in-law was Dr. Su. She threw a coin into the frying oil and told the vendor to pick it up. Others scolded the woman for being cruel when they saw this, but the woman forcibly tried to push the vendor's hand into the oil. At the critical moment, Dr. Su arrived to stop her.